Okay guys, this is going to be a very important video, okay? The things that I'm going to be sharing right now. So a lot of people think that branding has to do with having a cool logo and matching colors. And while it's true that you should have a logo and that you should have some color coordinating colors for your theme, for all your assets, that is not the most important thing about branding. So the goal of branding, the purpose of branding is to be memorable, is to imprint into your audience or your client or your potential client or customer's mind who you are, so that if they ever need a product or service that you offer, they will think of you first. That is the most important part of branding. It's to be memorable. So the most important way to make yourself memorable to your target market, to your audience, is to establish a good reputation, a good name for yourself. This is going to be more important than having a cool logo. Companies, big companies, established companies, will actually change their logos sometimes, even after having an established, memorable logo for a long time. And there are also successful companies out there that have a really not so great logo. So, for example, one company that my husband does work for, he does the digital marketing for, is they have a logo that looks like clip art, and it could very well be from clip art, and they just kind of customize the colors for themselves, and they've had it for years. And very often when they get a new marketer or designer or brand specialist, they always want to change that logo, but the CEO absolutely refuses. He doesn't care that people criticize him for their logo. He likes his logo and it doesn't matter, because this company has such a good reputation. They're so good at what they do that their logo doesn't matter. So I'm not trying to say that you should get an ugly logo. What I'm trying to say is your reputation is more important than your logo, and that you should not wait until you get the perfect logo until you start with your business venture. You should absolutely not let that hinder you. And you don't have to spend a lot of money, because if you're like me, I mean, I'm constantly, I'm very into aesthetics, and like nothing's ever good enough for me. So if I waited to do anything, I might never do anything. So I've accepted the fact that I'm going to change things up, maybe often, it doesn't matter, because it's just how I am. Maybe it's partly because I'm a woman, I don't know, but that you should not let your logo hold you back, and that's not the most important thing about branding anyways. So the way you establish a good reputation is going to have to do with the way you do business, what kind of advertising you do. Do you follow through with your word? Do you deliver on what you say, on what you promise? Do you give good customer service? Do you treat your clients and customers with respect? Do you treat your employees with respect? Do you treat your business partners with respect? Because all of these things will affect your name, your reputation online, and even by word of mouth. So these are the things that are most important about your brand, is how you deal with people. Do you have emotional intelligence? Also important is what kind of values you convey in your marketing and in your company's mission statement and bio and stuff like that, and what kind of value you provide to the market. Are you unique? Are you original? Is your product or service of good quality? So these are all the most important things about branding. Now, people like to do business with people, and that's why reputation matters, because when you establish a good reputation, one of the most powerful ways that you're going to get clients is through referrals. Now, whether it's because you created an affiliate program for yourself, or offered someone like a discount if they refer you to someone else, It doesn't matter. Most business owners will tell you, most entrepreneurs will tell you that the way that they get most of their business is through referrals, whether it's word of mouth or a link or a social media post or whatever it be. Word of mouth and testimonials and stuff like that. That is going to be the best way that you get referrals. So as an example, I don't have to constantly do marketing for my digital marketing services business because we get so many referrals from word of mouth that when I do marketing and I get one client, if I do great service, if I provide that one client with great service, well, that one client will come back to me for more work, for a different project maybe, or for the same project, just more work, or they'll refer me to their friends or partners or their clients. Or if they move to a different company, then they'll hire me again because they liked working with me. So that is just an example of how powerful having a good reputation and having good service and word of mouth referrals can help you make money and can make your marketing dollars count. So instead of doing some marketing and getting money from that one person, and then they're unhappy and then they never do business with you again, well, instead you spend money to get that one client, and they're so happy that the money that is spent there because you did such an awesome job serving them, it just grows, and it can grow exponentially. And that's kind of how I built the bulk of my services business. Is I actually did free advertising. This is a long time ago, of course, on Craigslist, but there's ways to do free advertising today. Craigslist is just one of them. So I did free advertising, and from that free advertisement, and this applies to both products and services. That person was so happy that they just started, referring me to everyone, and they had a lot of contacts. Some of them were big corporations that had a lot of money, and some of them were smaller businesses or solo entrepreneurs that didn't have as much money. It didn't matter though, because I provide a great service to everyone equally, no matter if they have a lot of money or not. Now, obviously, there's some things that I can't do for people who don't have as big of a budget, but I try to do as much as I can within their budget. And people understand that, and they know that, and they know that I'm trying to give them the most value for their money as I can. A lot of times when you're just getting started, you have a hard time getting traction with your business, and that's because people don't know you yet. They don't know you, they don't trust you. They might know you personally, but they don't necessarily trust you in your business, because maybe there's not a pressing need for your product or service, or you haven't convinced them yet that you offer them the best method for solving their problem. So maybe they do have the need, but they don't necessarily know that you are the best way to fulfill that need. And so a lot of times people will give up early with their entrepreneurial venture because they don't see results right away. But really, that's a mistake. When you're doing business, you really should be doing it for the long haul. You should think of everything as an investment for the long haul. It's not like a job. If you wanted immediate results, then you would go and you'd get a job, because they're going to pay you for every single hour that you put in right away, even if it's a low wage. But when it comes to business, you're not necessarily getting paid for every single hour that you spend. And in the beginning, you might be, putting in a lot of hours with very little pay. But in the long run, if you stick with it and you provide good value, good product, good service to the marketplace, you will be rewarded, and the growth will be exponential instead of just hourly. Okay. Now, I posted a meme the other day about how most businesses, most people quit in less than 1 year. And so a lot of times, if you're just getting started and you haven't even been around for a year, you might not experience the kind of return that a lot of people have. Now, you might hear about people who who, accomplish these great things right away, but that's probably because they already have a following. And so when they get results right away in a new business venture, it's not because, it's because even though it's a new business venture, they already have a following. Do you understand? So that's how important establishing your reputation and building your brand is that following, okay, that audience, that market. So the most powerful and effective way to do branding, and the quickest way to gain trust from your target market or your audience, is to use personal branding. And personal branding is also, you can also call it expert marketing or influencer marketing. So personal branding is when you concentrate your marketing efforts into raising brand awareness for yourself instead of for an entity, a company, or a product or service. So for example, let's say you want to sell Young Living essential oils. Now, if you focused on promoting Young Living, then all your marketing efforts will go to the credit of Young Living. But if instead you raise awareness for yourself, and as the go-to person for health products, let's say health products or health information, then you're not restricted to just Young Living. You can sell any kind of thing that is related to people who are interested in essential oils. So people who are interested in Young Living essential oils are typically people who are interested in natural health, right? Alternative health, holistic health. So why should you be limited to Young Living? There's a lot of products out there that you can sell that might be even more easily sellable than Young Living essential oils are to the same target market. And what if one day Young Living went out of business, or got such a bad reputation that people didn't like them anymore? Or what if one day they decided that they don't want you to sell their products anymore? And I've heard that happen sometimes. Well, if you have been spending all of your marketing efforts just to build up Young Living, then when something happens with Young Living and you, then that influence is lost, and all that effort and time that you've put in there is lost. But if instead you spent that time and effort promoting yourself as a lover of all things holistic health and natural healing, and the person who's knowledgeable about essential oils and supplements and whatnot, then it doesn't matter what happens to Young Living, because people will go to you still because they trust you and they like hearing from you and they like the things that you recommend and the things that you talk about. And I'm sure a lot of MLM representatives know or have witnessed that you could be working on someone to try to get them to sign up, and for some reason instead of them signing up under you, they end up signing up under someone else. Whatever the reason is, maybe you've spent a lot of time and effort working on getting someone, but then they have a friend who also sells it, so even though you're the one who convinced them to use it, they'll sign up under their friend. So these kinds of problems can be avoided if you're not merely promoting Young Living, but you're promoting yourself. And then Young Living is just one of the things that you are recommending and trying to sell. So the goal of good marketing is to gain an audience, is to gain a following. And so that's why a lot of marketers will tell you that the most important asset you have as a marketer or an online entrepreneur is your email list. And because you own those email addresses if someone gives it to you, and you can email them whenever you want. And this is similar to also when you have a Facebook page and you have a bunch of followers, or an Instagram or Twitter. those people that are following you, they are your asset. And when you have that audience, when you have that following, you can take those friends with you wherever you go. If you, let's say for example, Facebook kicks you out, well, if if you've also asked them to sign up to your email list, you can still keep in contact with them, right? Or let's say Twitter goes out of business, if they know you and you're not just someone they've bought from, but you're someone that they like following and like hearing from a lot. You have a relationship with them. The platform won't matter as much. They'll find a way to get in contact with you, and hopefully you will have asked them to join your email list so that it will be platform independent. So an example of the power of personal branding and influence marketing or expert marketing can be seen in the movie industry. So as you may or may not know, there are a lot of actors and actresses who are really good, but they are turned down for roles because they're not known and they don't have a big following. So admittedly, Hollywood will turn down actors and actresses for a specific role, even though they think that that actor or actress is better suited. Maybe even if they really do believe that a certain actor or actress is a better actor or actress, they will still often default to someone who is already known. And that's because they know that there are a lot of people out there that will watch a movie just because that actor or actress is in it. So that's an example of why personal branding is important, and promoting yourself instead of a company or a specific product or service. Another example is Paul Newman. He is a big name in Costco, and he's got his name on all kinds of different stuff. He has his name on food. He has his name on camping gear. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they have his name selling insurance. And Paul Newman passed away on September 26, 2008. And even though he's not around anymore, his name is still valuable. His brand is so powerful that it continues to sell items, and companies continue to sell things under his name because his personal brand had such a good reputation. So with the Paul Newman example, we can see that personal branding is so powerful that you don't even have to stick to the same niche. I mean, the fact that Paul Newman's name is selling food as well as camping gear shows you how versatile personal branding can be. And that's because it's very natural for a person to like and recommend different things, right? It's not, when you have a company, let's say a software company, it's strange if a software company suddenly starts selling food, right? I'm sure it can happen, but it's strange. But if it's a person, it's perfectly fine for a person to, recommend some software one day, and another day recommend a certain restaurant that they like. That's completely natural. Now let's take, for example, let's say if you were a lawyer, personal branding versus traditional branding. So if you went the traditional route and you branded and you focused all of your branding efforts on your law firm, then you would build up the name of your law firm. Well, if you have, let's say, a Facebook page for a law firm, or an Instagram page, or YouTube channel for a law firm, what would you expect that social media channel to serve on that page or on that channel? Well, you would expect a law firm to serve content about law, about legal subjects. But a normal person probably doesn't want to hear about law all the time, and they'll probably shut you off, right? They'll probably opt out of receiving your posts all the time, or even your emails. If, however, you branded yourself You don't have to talk about law all the time. You are just establishing a connection with someone, and sometimes you can talk about law, and sometimes you can talk about just whatever you want, and that's more. It's a lot more natural. Say, for example, you had a friend who's a lawyer, and actually, I follow someone on Facebook, and that's exactly her tagline. Her tagline is "Your friend that's a lawyer." Now, if you had a friend that's a lawyer in real life, which you probably do, just think about it. When you have a friend who's a lawyer, you don't necessarily talk about law all the time. You probably talk about law once in a while, and maybe 80% of the time you talk about any other thing else that you can connect with them on. Okay, whatever your shared values are, your shared interests are, etc., etc. And actually, if your friend talked about his job, his profession all the time, you'd probably be very annoyed and not want to see them very much anymore. And that is actually a good method when it comes to social marketing and email marketing, is to not always try to sell to your audience. I mean, you can talk about law even half the time or the majority of the time, but if you instead focus on your personal brand and you just give them a lot of value, not try to sell them all the time, then they're more likely to want to hear from you and open your emails and keep subscribed to your channel or to your page. And then when the time comes when you actually do need a lawyer, or maybe you have a friend that needs a lawyer, then you're going to go ahead and recommend your lawyer friend to your other friend who needs a lawyer, or you yourself will use the services of your friend who's a lawyer. So that is more or less the idea when it comes to personal branding, is that you basically just establish a relationship with your potential customers and clients, so that you are you're always in the back of their mind. They, once in a while see your posts and like the things that you talk about, but you're not always trying to sell to them. You're just, making sure that you keep a connection going, a dialogue going, so that when they do need your service, they will contact you instead of searching up, some random person on the internet, because they already have a connection with you. So the kind of content, the kind of posts that do best on social media are things that are either inspirational or funny or informative. And so as long as you're feeding your followers, your subscribers with that kind of content, they will love hearing from you, and they'll even share your content. And when people share your content, the people that they share it with, sometimes they'll click on your profile and then subscribe to you as well. And so that's a way of getting even more followers and more growing a bigger audience. Okay, but you have to, of course, balance that out and make sure that when they do look at your social profile, your YouTube channel and stuff like that, it's not, all about things that are not relevant to your business. On your main profile, you should have a link to your main product or offer or service, so that and also you should, of course, post about your product or service or business. They say 80-20. That's what a lot of marketers say, is 80% you should give them value, or just talk about something else, and then you can try to sell 20% of the time. 80-20, so as not to be annoying. So I often do consultation calls and coaching calls with people. And I was talking to someone on the phone the other day, and they were interested in digital marketing services. And so I was asking her, what is your business? And she didn't just give me one answer. She said, well, you know what, my main thing is real estate, but I also do insurance. And in the future, I would like to start a nonprofit organization one day. And they were planning out what that would look like, but it wasn't ready at the moment. So I recommended to her that personal branding would be the best for her, because then she wouldn't have to, do one thing for her real estate business, and another thing for her insurance, and another thing for her nonprofit. Of course, you're probably going to want to set up different entities and different websites for each. However, you could have a central hub, which is just for your personal brand, that links to the three. And then when you do your social media activity, you do it through a profile that is you. And it could be a Facebook page, a business page, or not, but it's not. It's something that represents you, and you can talk about the three different things. So personal branding is very flexible and versatile that way, just like Paul Newman, the Paul Newman brand. So there's a Jewish man that I listen to on YouTube, and you may or may not have heard of him. His name is, well, he goes by the name Gary Vee. So that's another thing about personal branding, is you don't necessarily have to use your full legal name. So it doesn't have to be. So his full legal name is Gary Vaynerchuk, but he just goes by Gary Vee, and it's easier to remember. It's a little bit more catchy. I know someone who she was going by her first name, her legal name, and then she realized that when she started going by the term lady boss, she blew up. Her followers really latched onto that. So it doesn't have to necessarily be your full legal name, but it's something that represents you, not necessarily like a nameless, faceless entity or company. So back to Gary Vee. I like listening to him, but he curses a lot, and so I usually don't post his videos or his stuff to my social media platforms, because most of my friends on social media are religious, like me, and a lot of them would be very offended if I posted a lot of things that had profanity on it. But he has a lot of things to say, a lot of valuable information in regards to marketing and business. So he's Jewish, and his family immigrated, and they were very poor. They lived in a small apartment, multiple families, but he was able to grow his family business that they started to a $60 million company. And when he left, he started his own marketing and media company. And he says that the most important thing that he ever did for his business was personal branding. He promoted himself, not necessarily his company. And actually, he named his company after himself instead of a different name, a company name. So this is the advice that he gives to businesses, and he is a marketing and a business coach, and so he advocates the same thing, is to be very active on social media, to post daily, multiple times daily actually, and to use personal branding. So sometimes people would rather hide and not really be about themselves, because they feel insecure, and they think that, if people find out this or that, they might not like me, and they might not buy from me. But actually, a lot of people have found that the complete opposite is true. A lot of times, what makes you unique and different is what helps people to latch onto you, is what makes people appreciate you. Especially if you can relate to people out there who don't have someone like you or like themselves in your niche. There was even this one man who he stuttered, and he was inspiration. He stuttered, but he was in marketing. I forgot if he did SEO or social media. I don't remember what he did, but he thought initially that his stuttering would prevent people from working with him, but he just dealt with it. He explained to people, and you know what? They loved him regardless. So, if you haven't done so yet, I would recommend that you go ahead and go to canva.coralyn.com, and I'll post the link on this video to it. And that link will take you to some design tutorials, and there's one about logo design. And then if you go to the top right corner, you can click on a button to create a free Canva account and create your own logo. And don't waste a lot of time on the logo. Do not take more than 1 day to get it. Don't worry if it's not perfect enough. Just whatever you have in that 1 day's time, start using it. And you might revisit it later. It doesn't matter. It's better. Action is better than inaction. Getting started is better than not, and then waiting till you're perfect. So go ahead and make yourself a logo, and register your domain name, and get your name on all the various social media platforms. Most importantly would be Facebook and YouTube, and then of course also Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, everything that you can. And claim your stake on the World Wide Web and start building your personal brand. And even if you haven't decided on a niche yet, or don't even have a product or service yet, you can start posting. You can start trying to gain a following, build an audience. Okay, all right.